I'm Jim Benson, and you're listening to TV Time Machine. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and visit our show archives at tvtimemachine.com. Today on the TV Time Machine, we travel into a true-life past as we experience inspiring stories of surviving evil. In this edition of our program, we are proud to welcome the host of Investigation Discovery's new documentary program, Surviving Evil, Charisma Carpenter. Ms. Carpenter's real-life incident surviving a vicious criminal attack is one of the many harrowing stories featured on the series where victims turn the tables on their attackers and become victorious. Over the next segment, Charisma Carpenter will help us explore virtually every aspect of this compelling crime series, which airs Wednesdays at 10 p.m. on Investigation Discovery as we explore the stories of men and women surviving evil. Again, for those of you intrepid enough to fight back, feel free to be witness to a remarkably brave woman and her courageous story from the past. Charisma, thank you for coming on board the TV Time Machine.
I'm so happy to be here. Hi.
Charisma, tell us about the premise of Surviving Evil.
And the premise is Surviving Evil. It's about stories of people, survivors, that have turned the tables on their attackers and ultimately led to their conviction.
Tell us what happened 22 years ago that ultimately led to your involvement in this series.
22 years ago? Oh my gosh. What happened? What happened was my two friends and I went to San Diego Beach, Torrey Pines State Beach in San Diego, affluent area, summer, and lots of people are at the beach, and a rogue San Diego police officer thought it was a good idea to attack us with a hose over his face at gunpoint. He had his police-issued flashlight. I screamed, and the boys came to my aid. He proceeded to instruct me to bind their hands, which I did. The first survivor, and then the other survivor, I just did not comply and refused to comply because I was thinking that if my friends were defenseless, then I would then be vulnerable to rape or murder or being relocated without them able to help me. So I don't know if that's always something someone should do, but in my case, I trusted my instinct and I refused. I asked him to do it. He did it, but he wasn't quite finished because I asked him in my sassy way, I guess, what's next? Are you going to rape me? And he said, "You bet you're sweet, I am." And it was at that point that one of my friends jumped him and was shot immediately, but continued to fight. My other friends, whose hands weren't quite finished being bound, jumped him as well. They fought, gunfire going off left and right. I ran to the freeway to get help. I'd seen a police car drive by before. And they fought, and then ultimately separated. And we went to the hospital with one of my fellow survivors, and he went into critical condition and had surgery, and it was a very traumatic experience. But we were able to sort of kind of keep our wits about us and fight back and have him stopped. He was doing this 8 or 9 times, terrorizing San Diego beaches, and they couldn't catch him, and they didn't know why. And the reason why is because he was one of them. He was a police officer, a trusted public servant.
How did that incident change your life? How did it change your way of thinking and your perception of things?
Of course. It was a very traumatic experience, and I'm incredibly aware of my surroundings. I take preventative measures. I never park at night in an area that's not well lit. I don't keep my face in my phone when I'm walking in my car. I can sense when people are in my presence, or sort of, you can feel energy. My energy antenna is up. So, and I've had a lot of counseling, so I have a pretty healthy outlook about it all today. But I think then that's what's made this opportunity a good one and a timely one. I've had enough distance in counseling to sort of have a healthy outlook and be able to speak about it without melting down.
Now, you also have other true life stories on surviving evil. Tell us about those.
Yes. Well, there's so many, and although my story is one of the more compelling stories, and I think the most shocking part of my story is that he was a police officer. But the stories that are also told are chilling. An ex-husband bludgeoning his ex-wife and stuffing her into a drum and then leaving her for dead in freezing conditions in a warehouse somewhere, and her staying conscious and fighting and thinking of her daughters and trying to stay alive. Lisa McVeigh, who is now a police officer in Florida in Special Victims Unit, was a victim of a serial murderer, and she survived. And the things and the horrific things that he had done to her, and the stories, you know, just one after another, my jaw is on the floor when I read the scripts, and I've just been so impressed that not only do these women survive, they have gone on and fought back and started foundations against violent crimes in some cases, or in Lisa McVeigh's case, she's a police officer. You know, we're not broken women. You know, we've gone on with our lives and survived, and hopefully we'll inspire others to do the same.
Charisma, is there a common denominator that enabled the survivors that are featured on your show to survive?
That's a good question. Is there a common denominator? That's a really good question. I would imagine there was an element of you know, in Lisa's case, she was going to commit suicide that night that she was abducted. And it was no longer her desire to die when she was in that position. She decided to fight back. And I think that will, that need to survive, that strive for life kicks in. And I think it's a good thing to know about yourself when you're in those sorts of situations, these critical situations. Are you able to think and strategize and get through them? I think that's kind of been the common denominator that I've noticed, and we've all been inspired for different reasons. In some cases, it's been someone's kids that got them through that. And in Lisa's case, she just didn't want to die. And she didn't want to, and if she was going to die, I guess she didn't want to go that way. But her life has changed forever in the best possible way because of that horrible incident.
Charisma, where can people find out more about yourself and surviving evil online?
You can go to investigationdiscovery.com to fill out a quiz about surviving and test your own skills about surviving, notice red flags, and hopefully find a reach-out program if you are in a situation of domestic violence or have been a victim of violent crime. There is an opportunity for you then to get help.
Charisma Carpenter, the host of Surviving Evil, which airs every Wednesday at 10 p.m. on Investigation Discovery. Charisma, it's been a tremendous pleasure having you aboard the TV Time Machine. Feel free to join us again in the future or in the past.